Hi there, welcome to Lead TV. Now this is where we give you the tools, the skills, the mindset to step up and become that confident, inspiring, super effective leader that gets results and a kind of leader that you've always wanted to be. So this is where we learn how to do that, guys. Today we've got a tricky one. We are talking about letting go, okay? And more specifically, when is it okay to let go? And I know this is such a challenging situation for so many of you. I know in workshops, when I'm working with you, in programs, when we get to this point, when is the right time to let someone go? I can feel everyone pulling away. Okay, it terrifies most of us. Why? Because maybe we haven't seen it done in a positive and respectful way, so our only experience has been of something a bit confrontational. We don't know any other way to do it, so we tell ourselves it's going to be horrible and nasty, and so what do? We avoid it. We stick our head in the sand and we just hope it'll go away, and it doesn't, okay? We end up with a really toxic environment sometimes, so we're not going to do that. What we have to ask ourselves though, I guess when we're considering, do I have someone that's just not the right fit, is we've got to look at a few different sides of this story. We've got to look at, is it us? Is it me? Did I do what I needed to do? Or is it them? Have I done all the things I needed to do, but I'm just not getting a response? Am I going to get in trouble? I hear many of you ask. Are there laws against this? Of course there are, and so there should be to, protect both sides and make sure that everyone's playing nice and fair. But I think we need to dig into this with a little bit more detail to understand why it sometimes goes wrong, okay? And then we'll look at how to let go if that's the case, okay? So the longer you stay in business, I think it's inevitable that not everyone is going to fit. Of course, the more staff you bring into your business, it's a numbers game. Of course, the better you get at recruiting and knowing exactly who you're looking for, the less of this you'll get. But guaranteed, we're all going to face at least one, sometimes many situations where you've just got the wrong person on your team and you need to make a decision about that for everyone's benefit, for their benefit, your staff's benefit, and for the sake of the business, okay? And keeping the wrong person much longer than you should can be extremely damaging to all of those parties. Your clients sense the tension, your staff feel like sometimes you can cut the air with a knife, right? They can feel the tension. You're stressed to the max. You're going home giving someone an earful about it, probably not the person, but someone else. And they're obviously not enjoying where they're working. So if you've got someone on your team that has mentally checked out, they checked out long ago, they're just turning up to take home a paycheck, but they're not contributing positively, and even more than that, maybe they've become quite negative. They've become quite, maybe a bit sort of aggressive and argumentative, or even quite toxic. It's just, you can feel the energy just flatten and fall when they walk in. It's a really bad idea to keep them around. That's screaming to you that you need to step up and have some conversations to manage the situation, okay? So let's take a closer look at both sides of this dilemma so we can really be confident in the decision that we're about to make. So first of all, how do we know that we've given someone every opportunity, that we've ticked all the boxes and done everything that we could do to give them the best chance of making a really successful go of it here? How do we know? Well, it'll kind of look something like this. Before you even offered them the role, so before you even said, I'd like to offer you the position, can you start, Monday, you had a conversation about what life was like here, who you are, what you pride yourself on, your values. You've heard me talk about this lots, guys. So your vision, your values, your expectations, okay? Because everything you measure in your business, every KPI I'm going to be in your ear teaching you how to measure, measures an action which just reflects one of your core values. This is who we are, so it's important that that's what we do, and here's how we measure it to make sure we're doing a great job, okay? So before you offered the role, you needed to talk about that stuff. Otherwise, how on earth are they ever going to know that that's what's being expected, okay? So you've got to explain those things, your vision, your values, and you've got to talk about what service looks like to you, what life looks like in your environment. And then hopefully on their agreement to those values and those commitments and those expectations, you've offered the role, and then you've made time for a really great induction, which is where you get into the nitty gritty. So your induction is where you bring into play things like your employee handbook, your standards of performance, and you'll get into the small details like, let's say, the punctuality, what's expected, start times, a personal presentation, appropriate conversation in the salon, your mobile phone policy at work, maybe your policies around staff services. When do I get my hair done? Do I pay for that? How do I make purchases? Right through to things like leave and what's the process if I'm ill and can't come to work? What is the expected process you need me to follow? So we get right into the detail of all of those things. Plus, we'll do some work on your client journey. This is exactly how we deliver great service. What we often do, guys, particularly if we ourselves are, or at least were, a really high performer. I call this the curse of the high performer, right? If you are someone who just builds that huge clientele, gets fantastic results, and is someone that just brings in the dollars week after week after week while delivering great service, then the challenge for you is that you often expect that everybody sees the world like that. This is obvious to everyone, okay? It's just common sense. The problem is it's not. Your perception of the world and how clients should be looked after and what you expect can be wildly different from whatever someone else is used to, and they think that's good service. So if you use general terms like, we pride ourselves on excellent service, but you don't tell me exactly what that looks like and maybe how you measure it, step by step, you're assuming that we've got the same thing in mind and we don't, okay? And of course, that's going to become evident down the track as you get more and more frustrated. So the clearer you are up front, the more chance you've got of someone being able to understand what you want and give it to you, okay? So what have we done so far? We've talked about who we are, what we value, what we need, what we expect. Based on those commitments, we've offered the position and we've made time for a really good induction so they understand the step-by-step stuff, okay? We've got to check that they understand, okay? You've heard me talk about that before. Why? So we know, we're confident that they get it, they understand and they can do it. And then if they don't do it from here on in, I know it's not a training problem. I know I don't need to keep retraining them in the same thing. I need to sit down and have a conversation because I know they know how, they're just not doing it. We need to have a chat about what's in the way, why that's not happening, okay? The last part of this though is feedback, and we've talked lots about feedback, but if you've got me off on the right foot, you've given me, all the best instruction and guidance and training in the world, I need you there by my side as my coach to make sure I've got it. That when I do get off track a little bit, as our staff always do, as we all do, I've got you there saying, hey, remember when we talked about that, we do it like this. Or, hey, you're doing that super well, awesome, but we still haven't got this part right. This is what I need, this is what I'm getting, here's the gap, okay? This is what I need to change. Let's go through that again. I need you there coaching, giving feedback, right? So by the time you eventually get to the point where you are thinking about, I'm just not getting results, I'm going to move into performance management, or I'm going to move someone on, you should have had dozens and dozens of conversations about this. Okay, so if you do move into performance management, it shouldn't be a surprise to anyone because you've been talking about this daily, weekly, over and over and over again. It's been a constant point of conversation. Okay, that's the first thing that we often do is we don't communicate what we want. We don't communicate when we're not getting it. So we see it, but we don't say anything. We don't do anything because we think that'll be confrontational. So we avoid that. We stick our head in the sand, and then one day we go, right, that's it. You're out of here. And the person's like, what do you mean? Okay. So it can't be a surprise. Let me add one more layer to that. If you've got those coaching routines nicely in place, consistently in place, you will have all the required documentation. Okay, you'll have the weekly reports, you will have the monthly reviews, you'll have the quarterly performance reviews and appraisals, all dated and signed. You'll have all the documentation you need. Okay, why is that a great thing? Because if you've just put 3, 6, 9, 12 months into someone and it's just not right, and the situation is starting to deteriorate, okay, it's starting to become a little bit negative, you need to act. but you don't have any documentation in place. So if you do want to move someone on, and it's your decision, not theirs, you have to start from zero. You have to start from scratch to start to collect all that documentation and start the process all over again, which is excruciating. Okay, so the best thing you can do is have the right systems in place to explain exactly what you need. All of that should be documented, okay? And then a constant process of coaching to keep them on track, give them the best chance of, you know, stepping up, adapting what they do, and you're also watching to see how they respond to your coaching. Are they coachable or are they resistant? That's a big decision in whether you keep them on the team and persevere, or whether it might be time to move them on. So let's get to the point now where we've decided that maybe it is time to move on. We've had those conversations, it's just not right. Guys, it should be a natural consequence, I think, to just sit down and have a conversation about that. Doesn't need to be angry, explosive, and I certainly hope it's not. This should just be a calm, respectful conversation, and it might even go something like, hey, let's have a chat. You know, you and I have been on this, we've been working hard on this for 7 months now, and you know, I've got all of our appraisals and, you know, all of our you know, weekly target sheets and conversations that we've had, and I can see we're talking about the same issues over and over and over again. So look, if it were a month, 2 months down the track, I would be looking for what else do we need to do? How can we train? But I'm kind of thinking, if we've been talking about this for 7 or 8 months, maybe we're at the point where, you know, we've just the wrong fit. I've got an apple and I need an orange, right? And as much as I train my apple, I might not be able to turn it into an orange. The best thing to do might be to let my my orange go and get an apple. So I would have a chat and just say, how do you feel? What are you thinking? You understand what I need. Does that feel like the kind of place that you want to be part of? And this, if you recognise it, is the conversation we have right at the start, okay? But we need to bring it up again, because now it's clearly not happening, okay? I would then add, hey, it's totally okay. I totally get it if this might not be the right environment for you, we might not be the salon for you, I might not be the right leader for you. And sometimes that happens, you know, that what we need from you and from the people on our team is just not a good fit for what you're comfortable with and what you're ready for. And I totally get that. But the issue that we've got to talk about is, if that's the case, let's just have a conversation about how we're going to manage that. Because the worst thing for either of us would be if we just continue along this path. Both of us are going to get frustrated. The relationship's going to get a little bit tense. It's going to be damaged. You know, it's going to be tension for the team. The client's going to sense it. I'd hate to see it go that direction. So I kind of want to sit down and have a bit of a chat to you now to say, where do we go from here? Okay. When I have that conversation, majority of the time, they know. If you've had those conversations, they know that it's just not working, and they will usually say, look, I get it. You know, I just don't want to do that, or I just don't get excited, or I don't enjoy doing that. Totally cool. You know what we do then? Everyone does the right thing. Everyone honours their obligations, their commitments, you know, notice periods or time in lieu or whatever needs to be paid. Everyone does the right thing. You make sure the clients are protected. You might even have a conversation around that. And you make sure that the transition out of the business and into the next opportunity is as calm and respectful as possible. Okay? Everyone does the right thing. There's no need for it to be angry. Okay? But what I want you to really get out of this is, it's unfair of us as leaders to have expectations but not have made things clear, all right? To have left it all to guesswork and assumption that they should know, and doesn't everyone know this? And no, they don't, okay? And then to get angry with them when it doesn't happen. So we start out with the assumption that it's going to be a long and positive partnership, and then we do everything we can to bring that to fruition. But if we've done everything we can, we've been at it for a period of time, it's just not happening, sit down and have the conversation and let go nicely. Okay? Now guys, I know that can be a tricky one. I know that's it's usually until you've done it once or twice and you've done that nicely, it's something that we often avoid, and unfortunately sometimes we lose great staff members because we weren't willing to deal with this situation and they got sick of working in tension. So I hope that doesn't happen to you. Just think about, have you done your part? Have you made it super clear and given them the best chance? If not, start fresh. have a conversation that says, you know what, I didn't do this when we started. We were busy, short-staffed, I didn't make the time. Let's start fresh. And then get your coaching in order so that you are giving them the best chance, obviously, of leveling up. If it's just not right, sit down and have the conversation. Hope that's been helpful for you guys. I'll see you next week for our next episode of Lead TV. Bye for now.